Well, welcome to another edition of Wednesday virtual tasting of our featured effin' beer. Today we're outside in some unhealthy weather here. The air quality is about 120, and I know that that's in the unhealthy state. It's a lot better than it's been. You can smell a little bit of smoke, but it's not nearly as bad as it's been. So I ventured outside and thought we would do it outside. It's a little, getting tired of being cooped up, so got to get out. So what we're tasting today is Cease and Desist Skittles IPA. And we'll go through the recipe, we'll go through some history about the beer, and we'll do some tasting. And if you notice, since this is an IPA, I chose the IPA style glass. And we're not going to do a comparison because I know, pretty confident this one's going to have the more pronounced hop flavors and aromas, and so we're just going to make a gamble and say that's the glass to use if you have a choice. It'll taste in any good glass, but if you have one of those, I would try it. If you don't have any, you may want to pick some up. We were sold out. That was from our 9th anniversary over a year ago, so a year and a half ago. Cease and Desist Skittles IPA is 6.3% alcohol by volume, 70 IBUs. When we brewed this, we hit an original gravity of 1.064, and our terminal gravity is at 1.016. Color of this beer is 5.7, so it's a very, very pale beer, and you'll find out when you see the recipe. Well, there's no rainbow in the beer. We mashed in at 150 degrees, half barrel batch, 15.5 gallons. The water profile is Seattle, believe it or not. This is for the Seahawks. And our yeast is White Labs WLP 001, which is the Sierra Nevada, they call it Orchico clone. So there's only one malt, and then we got the Skittles. So we have 36 pounds of crisp Maris Otter. So that's English floor malted Maris Otter. And that's milled and it's mashed at 150 degrees for an hour. During the boil, we will add the Skittles, so that's not up front. But that's 93.5% of our sugar comes from the Maris Otter base malt. 1 hour at 150 degrees, we sparge it out with 170 degree sparge water, and we collect all the sugar in our boil kettle, and we boil it for 1 hour. When we first get our boil going, we're going to put 3 ounces of Columbus hops in, which gives us 54 IBUs. And then with 5 minutes left, we put in 6 ounces of Centennial. Now these are all Yakima grown hops, 15 IBUs from the Centennial. At 20 minutes left in the boil, we add 2.5 pounds of Skittles. And this is the mix that we use. It's the original mix. And so you've got red and green and yellow and orange and purple. And those are the colors, the original Skittle colors, and that's what we put in there. We think it's the most balanced and it's more citrus to add to the hop character. Take it out of the boil kettle and pitch it at 65 degrees into a fermenter, and it ferments for at least a week. The sugar really helps accelerate the fermentation. So with a beer at 6.3, sometimes you want to go 2 weeks fermentation. 1 week is plenty of time, and you'll be good. And then we take it out and we put it in secondary for 1 week at 32 degrees, and that's how we clean the beer out. It probably could take, if you did it for 2 weeks, I think we'd have it even more clear. This has got a little haze to it. I think it's a little hop haze on it because it is quite hoppy. And then we force carbonate 1.5 volumes. This particular beer we also bottle, and we just bottled today. There's 24 bottles for this week available for your enjoyment, so you can have it in time to watch the Seahawks home opener on Sunday. Otherwise, we have growler fills, and those have already been selling quite rapidly, and there's only 15 growler fills left for this weekend. So if you need some, Want some, get your order in now. Let's do a taste. I'll tell you a little history about it. So up front, I'm getting a hoppy citrus tone, and I'm also getting a sweet citrus aroma. Now, being at 70 IBUs, up front, I'm getting that little bit of sweetness, a little fruitiness, a little fruit character, fruit estery, fruit hoppy, fruit skittle, and then it turns into a nice, pleasantly long, lingering, increasingly bitter finish. So you have that IPA finish. The longer it's in your mouth, the more pronounced that bitterness is, and the hop character comes into your throat and the back of your tongue and down your throat. But as it's going down, it's very smooth and very gentle. It's an interesting beer because it's almost like sweet and sour. So you got that little bit of sweetness, robust, full-bodied flavor, citrusy, fruity, little sweet, and then it finishes very clean, and then the bitterness starts to develop and intensify as you go down. It's quite pleasant. You know, I think this is a great IPA for, well, you know, it's hard to say who IPA drinkers are nowadays, because we have now the juicy and we have the hazy, which aren't bitter at all. They're just like fruit juice, really. This is not that kind of beer. This is probably, I would say, fits the category of how IPAs were in the late 80s and early 90s as far as intensity level of the bitterness and the hoppiness. Then we got in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it got extremely bitter, almost to the point where some of them were hard to drink because they were just so bitter. And now we're moving in, some of those are going back to the traditional IPAs, and then we get some of these fruity, juicy, hazy ones, which don't have any hoppiness really to them at all. They're not bitter at all. They're I call them fruit juice beers. This is not like that. So I'll tell you the story behind it, and then I'll open up for some dialogue, and I'll answer some of your questions. I'm sure there will be some. So 2014, the Seahawks earned the right to play in the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos, and you know, once they won their NFC Championship, we decided we wanted to do a beer. We wanted to do it quickly, to have it on tap the Saturday before Sunday, Super Sunday, and we decided, since Marshawn Lynch was really the king of town, we were going to do something with Skittles in it, and what better to put in what kind of beer than an IPA? And so we decided to do a small 6-barrel batch of Skittles IPA. We're going to call it 12th Man Skittles IPA, and we brewed it, and only had 5 gallons, and it was only going to be, you know, enough for about 50 12-ounce pints. And a week before the Super Bowl, less than a week before the Super Bowl, we got a cease and desist letter from Texas A&M University, which owns the rights to 12th Man. And so anyone who uses it, the Seahawks even pay them money to use 12, and the 12th Man was a big theme, and they wanted us to stop, so we decided we'll change the name. So we changed it to Cease and Desist Skittles IPA. We had to put out a press release for the local market so people wouldn't quit talking about our beer, and it kind of backfired on them because it got people really more excited about talking about little tiny Foggy Noggin gets a cease and desist letter from big Texas A&M University, you know, their attorneys and the whole thing. And we ended up getting on the news, a lot of hype over it. And then on the Saturday before the Super Bowl was our release, and we had 250 people lined up to get the beer, and we only had enough beer for 50 12-ounce pours. Well, we never turned the tap off. We were pouring. I think the beer was gone in about 6 minutes, and you know, after it was all done, everybody was pretty excited about the game coming up. And I said, make you a deal. If they win, we'll do a full batch. And of course, they demolished the Broncos that Sunday in 2014. And we brewed a full batch of 15.5 gallons, only 3 times the size. 3 weeks later, we had it on tap, and we ran out of that beer in about 20 minutes, 18, 20 minutes. And so we decided we were going to brew it during the Seahawks season. So we missed the first game last week, but we made it for the home opener. And we'll be on tap for, and bottles for the season, as long as we can get Skittles all season long. So that's the story behind it. It's very popular. We usually run out each week. With the COVID, I don't know what's going to happen, but we've already been getting orders for growler fills, so there's only 15 growler fills left for this Friday and Saturday curbside pickup. Curbside pickup's 4 to 5 p.m. both Friday and Saturday. If you want it, you need to prepay for your growlers, and once it's sold out, no more sales will be allowed this weekend, but we'll have it back next weekend. Or you can get bottles. Bottles are $10 for 22-ounce bottle, and growlers are $22 for a half gallon in a Foggy Noggin logoed growler. So let's see if we've got any questions that have been popping up. And let's see, we've got Zach and Mike, we've got Lee and Stephanie, and yeah, you can hear, so as the air quality is getting better, you can hear all the animals kind of waking up. And Mike says, feed your squirrels, please. Hope they're not making this too loud, and I hope you can hear me. We got Dave and Nancy and Craig, and Zach says, would this be a good beer to age? And I say no. You want to drink it fresh. Yeah, you have enough alcohol to age it, and the beer will be fine. It's not going to, like, it's going to go stinky on you. But the reason you want to drink it fresh is you want that hop character, and you're not going to get it. The hops will drop out fairly quickly. You really want to drink this beer as fresh as possible, and that's how you're going to enjoy it the best. It's a good question, though, Zach. Let's see. Trying to get some more comments here. Saw them here. Here we go. And we have Judy watching. Zach says the perfect marriage of candy and beer. And you know, ironically, we were very nervous about how was it going to come out. And putting candy and beer as when you've never done it before was a kind of a weird feeling, and we really didn't know if it was going to be just cloyingly sweet. Was it going to be gross? But it turned out it's really a good marriage, the two. Now I have an airplane flying over, if you can hear it. We do this live, so I can't predict what the noises are going to be. Have you heard of any other beers that incorporate candy? Well, sure. There's now a lot of people are doing a lot of things, and we actually did a peppermint porter, putting peppermint candy canes in our boil a few years ago for peppermint porter for Christmas time. Craig says this is one of his favorite beers. It really is a great beer, and you know, I'm not a really big IPA fan, but this is a beer I drink and I will drink, and I'm going to drink it Sunday for the Hawks game. Zach says, have you thought of any other candy or beer combinations you would think be good? Well, I know there's people who put Jolly Ranchers in different beers. You know, you want something that's not going to be overwhelmingly, I think if you put a Snickers bar or something, that'd be kind of weird, because you got the nougat and you got the processed chocolate and all that kind of stuff. But putting fairly clean candy in there that can completely dissolve and you get the sugars out of it would be fine. And Zach says, were you surprised by the result the first time you brewed it? Did it taste like you expected? It tasted way better. I thought it was going to be almost undrinkable, and I was pleasantly surprised that it actually does taste pretty good. So, and I think it tastes really good. So this is a beer, this is one that everybody's going to want. You can go to the foggynogginbrewing.com website and hit the beer tab and all the details on what's available. But you want to get your orders in. You want to make sure that you get confirmation that your order has been accepted, and don't just show up assuming you're going to get it, because it will sell out this weekend. And you could buy it tonight and have a Saturday pickup and you reserved it. You just don't want to wait till Saturday afternoon and say, I'm going to get one of those, and it's already sold out. So it's kind of a gamble. Mike says, beside coffee and chocolate, does licorice work? Well, a lot of people use anise in a beer, and I don't know if I like the flavor of licorice in a beer, but sure, I know people do it. It's not one of my items that I'm interested in playing around with. So it's a good question, and I'm sure you can find them if you do some Googling and say licorice beers. You're going to get some. There's some barley wines. I think there's a hub out of Portland does a barley wine each year that has a little licorice in it, and yeah, coffee, chocolate, Skittles is really the go-to, and you know, even Homer Simpson from The Simpsons wanted Skittle Brow, and I think we're the first ones that released it. Now I know there's other people who've been trying to do it, and I don't know how they do it, but the key thing is you want to put it in early enough in the boil that you can make sure it's completely dissolved and all the sugars are liquid. You don't want to put it in too soon, because if you do, then you have the increased amount of sugar content, and it's going to reduce the amount of bitterness you get out of it. So it's 20 minutes is the optimum time left in the boil to put the sugar, the Skittles in. And people say, well, what's your favorite flavor of Skittles? And I think they all taste the same, but truly they are a little bit different. But of course, the orange one's my favorite. And if you take an orange or any color and you chew it up, and you still have it in your mouth, and you take a taste of the beer, it truly is a rainbow of flavors that is transporting throughout your whole body, not just your mouth. You can feel it in your ears, in your toes. It's quite an experience. So I would make sure you have some Skittles on hand too, so you can drink it with the Skittles. Well, Zach says, what's a good food pairing with it? Skittles? I mean, come on. It's a basic food group, isn't it? I think it is. If you want to make it at home, if you're a home brewer, let's go over the recipe one more time. Not much you need. You need some. Now, you could do it with an American two-row barley, but I think you want a little bit more depth with it, with using an English Maris Otter. I like the Crisp brand because it's floor malted. I put in a half-barrel batch, and you have to size yours appropriately on your batch size, but put 36 pounds. And that's mashed in at 150 degrees for 1 hour. Water profile is Seattle, so whatever you've got, just make sure that you don't want the chlorine in there. So if you don't have a filter, you probably want to boil that water that you're going to use, let it evaporate the chlorine, and then your water will be good. For 1 hour, you're going to boil it, and you're going to add, at the 60-minute mark, 3 ounces of Columbus hops to get 54 IBUs. At 20 minutes left in the boil, you're going to add your Skittles. Now, for a half-barrel batch, you put in 2.5 pounds. Make sure you don't put too many in, or you're really going to spike up your alcohol level. Because we do a triple rainbow version of this, which is a triple IPA, and it's 10.2% or 11.2%. I can't remember, 10.2, and it's over 100 IBUs. And we put 7.5 pounds of Skittles for a 6-barrel batch. Talk about insanity. That's crazy. And that's how you get your higher alcohol level. And then at 5 minutes left, you put another 6 ounces of Centennial. And you only get 15 IBUs, but you get a lot of that citrus flavor out of it. Centennial is an awesome hop. You want to let it ferment no higher than 68 degrees for 1 week. You're going to cold condition it for 32 in a secondary fermentation, and then you're going to force carbonate to 1.5 volumes. You could go a little bit higher. Again, you can see that I don't have a lot of head retention on here because we have a lower carbonation level. That's the way I like my beers. That's the English way of doing beers. and but you could play with it. You could increase your carbonation a little bit, see if you like it better. It's delicious. It's a great complement to a football game. Craig says dinner and a beer. Well, really, you know, since Skittles is a primary food group, it really is a meal, and so you've got a beer to go with your meal. So Skittles and beer, and so if you put in, you know, this is that's probably a good serving, about that many. This is a 4-ounce glass, so you fill a 4-ounce glass. That's about right for a pint of the Cease and Desist. I think that's the amount. Any plans to do the triple rainbow again in the near future? Maybe. We usually, typically, if we do it, we do it at the tail end of the season. So it would probably be in January. But with COVID and all the weirdness in the world right now, who knows? Maybe we'll do it sooner, and maybe we won't do it at all, but possibly. And then Tony says, great game day beer after a Russell Wilson TD. Beast mode would be proud. That's so true. And, you know, if you want to play around at home, you have a few extra Skittles, and every time they score, you could throw some Skittles onto the floor. Feel like you're in the stadium then. So that'd be kind of fun. It's tough without an audience here because I thought you'd all be laughing there. But hopefully you're laughing at home. So the Cease and Desist Skittles IPA releases this weekend. There's only 15 growlers left, so if you want, get your orders in sooner than later. And we have 24 22-ounce bottles. $10 for these, $22 for the growlers. Next week for our featured beer of the week is going to be Big Chief, which is an Imperial Irish Red Ale. And that's an exciting beer to do. And then tomorrow at 5:30 is the happiest half hour of the week. And we have some music and some fun and some song and just some all-around, just goofing around. Make it, it's a good way to start off the weekend. That's 5:30 tomorrow on Facebook Live. And Zach says, toss a Skittle over your shoulder. Right now, well, I'm going to take this one right here, and this is a purple one, and oh, did I see a squirrel run after it? You know, Skittles could be in short supply, so I don't want to use too many up there. So Big Chief next week, Skittles IPA this week, and I really emphasize get your orders in because you don't want to be disappointed, and you want this beer for the Seahawks season opener, home opener. You really do. And you know, good way if you're going to be at home and have people over, you may want to have a growler or two. If you're going to go visit someone, you may want to take a bottle or two, or 3 or 4. Or you know what? If you're invited to somebody's house and they're going to have food, it's always nice to bring like a little house present. So give them a bottle and maybe bring a growler. Just an idea. So foggynogginbrewing.com, hit the beer tab. All the details on what's available this week is right there. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you had a fun time. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night for the happiest half hour of the week. See you this weekend, Friday, Saturday, for curbside pickup, and next Wednesday for virtual tasting of Big Chief. Cheers, everyone, and stay safe.